Visions of Mana feels like a warm hug from an era of RPGs long past, but with modern aspects that bring the joy that we millennials felt playing the likes of Secret of Mana in the 90s to a modern audience. Kinda like how Dune 2016 felt for fans of the boomer shooter genre, or a good indie Metroidvania like Hollow Knight does for a modern audience. It knows what it is, it knows who its audience is, and it does everything it sets out to do well. It sounds really silly to say this, but Visions of Mana is a video game, through and through. Hello there everybody, my name is Joesephyr and welcome to today's purchase or pass video where we're going to be talking about Visions of Mana. Now I want to extend a huge thank you to Square Enix for gifting me an early review copy of Visions of Mana so that I can bring this review to you guys. I can tell you I've spent about 30 hours with the game already. I've finished the main story, but there's still plenty for me to do. No money has exchanged hands for this review and all thoughts are my own. Visions of Mana has a very old school approach to its storytelling, which to me is frankly very refreshing in an era of stories that expects you to have played or seen 20 other items to understand its story, or tries too hard to subvert expectations. You don't need to have played any other Mana game to enjoy Visions of Mana. You play as Val, the soul guard or bodyguard to the elemental arms as they journey to the Mana Tree to pledge their souls to the goddess of Mana. Those of you who are fans of Final Fantasy X in particular might find some interesting parallels in the story to Visions of Mana. Val and Hina, the two primary leads of the story, are very clearly into each other. They have feelings for each other from the very start, and the game doesn't play this song and dance of romancing each other, and the supporting cast are very direct in the roles that they play within the plot, and you spend time with each of them individually as they join the party, which gives them reason to be a part of the story rather than just an accessory being arms themselves, and wrestling with the idea of being chosen for a higher destiny, much like Hina does at the start of the game. Now don't get me wrong, the story in Visions of Mana isn't completely cut and dry. There might be the occasional twist in the story that people don't see coming, but it's the matter-of-fact way that it tells its story from the very beginning of the Alms pilgrimage to the Mana Tree that makes it so that the twists that do occur actually have some impact. From a technical standpoint, Visions of Mana isn't exactly pushing the boundaries of what the PlayStation 5 can do, but the art style it presents is undeniably charming, and the locales dotted around the world are brimming with personality and ooze artistic quality. The character models aren't the most expressive I've ever seen in a video game, but as a distinctive image, the characters stand out and they work very well. Hiroki Kikuta returns as the composer for Visions of Mana, having done the majority of the previous entries in the franchise dating all the way back to Secret of Mana, and brings a whimsical, bright and colourful soundtrack that matches the visuals perfectly. Before we continue, I do just want to turn your attention to the link in the description box below to my Etsy store. If you would like to support the channel further, I have a Patreon and I have a store where I sell my art prints as well, so you're welcome to take a look at those. I do portraits of various video game characters, and I will actually be doing a portrait of Val this weekend on my Twitch channel, so you're welcome to come and follow me on there as well. So thank you for that quick aside. Let's get back to the review. As an action RPG that harkens back to the days of the second, third, fourth generations of consoles, Visions is quite simple in its moment-to-moment gameplay, or its execution in it. But it builds up very frequently with a ton of customization options through the extremely robust class system granted by items you find called elemental vessels throughout your journey, and ability seed items that you find dotted around the areas, or you get from enemies as you defeat them, that grant you abilities from outside your normal role. Finding new vessels and finding new party members and finding new ability seeds actually becomes extremely exciting, as it always adds a brand new dimension to the combat, including additions to the actual combos themselves as well as the exploration, and experimenting with different party setups, whether it be different jobs, different characters, different weapon types, different ability seeds. It's really fun. I did notice once or twice, particularly during boss fights with larger enemies, the camera got a bit wonky during combat, and I did experience a couple of bugs with the AI party members standing around not doing anything for a little while, but in my 30 plus hours of game time, it was extremely few and far between, and was nothing more than a minor inconvenience that a day one patch might fix. Something that's new to Visions of Mana that previous Mana games have never had before is large open areas to explore, with loads of treasure chests, special enemies called Nemesis, and side quests to find and complete. Now, this isn't an open world game. I suppose the quickest comparison I can make would be to something like Final Fantasy 16, where you have designated areas that are larger and then you have dungeon areas that are separated. So it's not one continuous open world, but the areas you come across are much larger than you'd ever seen in a mana game before. Now, the in-game map does always point you to points of interest, whether it be the treasure chests or the side quests, etc., which makes it difficult to get lost in these areas. Some people might complain, the same kind of people that complain about yellow paint on cliff sides, but I think it's a nice thing because I hate feeling lost in video games, and I never felt that way in Visions of Mana. And thanks to the brand new Pickle creatures, which are mounts, and fast travel within each area being instantaneous, I'm talking not a load screen in sight, but you can only fast travel within the area you're in. It never gets arduous or tiresome exploring. It's always fun, and that's something that I will keep coming back to in this game, is that it's fun, and that to me is the most important thing a video game can be. Though I will say that the rewards for some of the side quests did feel a little bit lacking, like you might get some money and that kind of be it. But there are others that make it well worth stepping off the beaten path, so it's up to you to decide how many of the side quests you want to do. I would point out the elemental areas. They're like challenge arenas. Those are very much worth your time, if nothing else. But I'll be talking more about side quests and areas and all of that stuff in another video about Visions of Mana coming very soon. In my 30 plus hours through, finished the main story content, and there's still plenty of side content that I haven't done, I will say I don't think I found Visions of Mana to be especially difficult at any point on its normal difficulty setting, though there are additional difficulties present for those who want an additional challenge, or for those who just want to experience the story and the exploration and the chill vibes. You can tone it down to an easy setting if you want. And unlike Trials of Mana, there's only one party rather than a selection of characters that you have to make a choice between at the very start of the game, which doesn't scream replayability in the same way that Trials of Mana did. But I still want to continue playing Visions of Mana after I finish the game. I want to finish exploring the world. I want to take on all the additional challenges because I have fun doing it. And I want to grab that platinum trophy for it. So, because like I said, if there's one word I have to describe this game, it's fun. Now, if you're a big Mana fan like I am, the reverence for other Mana games that are present in Visions is really apparent. You've still got little cacti running around for you to collect, and it's definitely worth you going out of your way to find them. They bring you some really awesome rewards. There are shopkeepers that sort of just dance in the background, dancing to the beat of their own drums. There's name drops everywhere. In fact, there's so many throwbacks to previous entries that a fan of the franchise will have an absolute field day just waiting for the next one to happen. So in conclusion, I'll be the first to admit that as a lover of the Mana franchise, I played the demo, I made a video about the demo, and I was a bit worried about Visions of Mana, to tell you the truth. When it launched, I thought the combat felt a little bit slow, a little bit sluggish, and the large area that was shown in the demo felt a little bit on the empty side. But as I spent time with the full game and like seeing how the progression worked and how that area is contextual to the rest of the game, it really opened up and it became more and more pleasant as I progressed through the game. I would now go so far to say Visions of Mana is my favourite Mana game in the franchise now. It's now dethroned Trials of Mana as my favourite game in the series, and that is high praise. I love Trials of Mana a lot. The characters are lovable. I haven't really spoken about the side characters because I don't want to go into spoilers or anything, but some of them are really very likeable characters. The story's bigger than any of the previous entries, and as I said, there are certain things that happen in the story that you will not be expecting from a Mana game. The level of customization is unparalleled from any Mana game previous or any JRPG that I've seen in a little while. People expecting a AAA, blockbuster, epic, super duper mega, like high budget video game, they're not going to get that from this. But I don't think Visions of Mana is ever actually trying to do that. It's just a really good video game. It brings the cozy back to JRPGs. It gives the warm fuzzies every time I find a new weapon or elemental vessel, play with a new job class, or a story beat that comes along that just keeps me playing. But it never outstays its welcome. I never felt tired or was waiting for the game to hurry up and finish or get to the point, and I think that's an extremely admirable quality in this game. I loved Visions of Mana, and I would recommend it to anybody, not just those who've played a Mana game or never played a Mana game, but as a JRPG fan, I'd recommend this to people who had never played a JRPG and want to try something new, especially if they like that cozy feeling that I love when I play a JRPG. Definite purchase for me. And that's going to be all for today's video on Purchase or Pass for Visions of Mana. Once again, I do want to extend a massive thank you to Square Enix for gifting me a copy of the game. I felt really privileged playing this as someone who loves the Mana franchise so much. So I was really, really honoured to be able to play this so I could present this video to you guys. And I'm so glad that I like the game as much as I do. Let me know in the comments below whether you're thinking about picking up Visions of Mana, or if this review has helped you to identify what Visions of Mana is all about and whether you now want to play it or now don't. Just sound off in the comments below, and if you're not sure what to say, just say the word algorithm, because it's extremely helpful to me as a content creator, so thank you very much if you decide to do that. Thank you once again for watching, and thank you to all of the people that come and follow me on Twitch, or TikTok, or Discord. It's all linked in the description box below if you want to come and join me and chat to me about Visions of Mana, or anything else for that matter. And if you want to support the channel, like I said, big thank you goes out to my Patreon supporters, as well as those who take a look at my Etsy store and buy my art prints from me. So that's going to be it for today's video. Thank you ever so much, and I'll see you next time. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.